Hey guys, this is my literature review on human growth hormone as an ergogenic aid. Here's some introduction as to human growth hormone. Human growth hormone is a naturally occurring single-chain polypeptide protein which is synthesized, stored, and distributed by somatotropin cells located in the anterior pituitary gland. Consistent with other steroid hormones, hGH structurally is composed by 4 rings, which is necessary for the interaction with the hGH-specific receptors on the membranes of various cell types throughout the body. hGH is not a fat-soluble molecule, therefore it cannot penetrate the lipid bilayer of the cell membrane to impose its effects on the cell. hGH must bind to a receptor on the outside of the cell. Tyrosine kinase cascade. It is an initial interaction between the hGH molecule and the cell membrane, which causes a secondary messenger inside of the cell. The activation of receptor tyrosine kinases lead to a rapid modulation of target proteins within the cell. So you can see in the picture there that the figure A connects or binds to the purple figure there, which causes the secondary messenger to occur within the cell membrane. The cell membrane is the little gray area there. hGH regulation in the body. So hGH is regulated by 2 hormones secreted by the hypothalamus. The first is growth hormone releasing hormone, which is stimulating the release of hGH from the pituitary gland. And the second is growth hormone inhibiting hormone, which obviously prevents the secretion of hGH from the pituitary gland. One of the 2 hormones is secreted and travels to the pituitary gland where it binds and delivers the message to release or prevent the release of hGH. hGH is regulated using a rhythmic flow of secretions rather than a constant level of hGH maintained throughout the day. So there's kind of highs and lows of hGH in the body throughout the day due to this rhythmic flow of secretions. Some of the early uses of hGH. It was first discovered in the 1920s inside the pituitary gland of cadavers during autopsies. Originally, it was used medically in the 1950s when doctors used the hormone to promote growth in underdeveloped children. This administration of the extracted cadaver hGH proved to be problematic, as it turned out to be a high correlation between the treated subjects and developing an incurable neurological disease called Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease. The scientific development of hGH. In 1966, a biochemist named Cho Hyo was the first to synthesize this large hormone. The new synthesized form of hGH opened the door to more opportunities in terms of using the hormone to treat various medical conditions. Underdeveloped children were treated again without the risk of developing Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease. Children with renal insufficiencies, it was used to treat them. Turner syndrome, hGH deficient adults were also treated to promote the growth and strength in them. So a study here by Solomon, Cuneo, Hesp, and Sonksen in 1989 looked at the effects of 6 months hGH administration in hGH deficient adults. The results of their study showed hGH treatment had no effect on body weight. However, body composition changes were seen. Lean body mass increased by roughly 5 kilograms, while fat mass decreased by roughly 6 kilograms. So although there was no change in their body weight, the composition of their body changed fairly drastically. A paper by Healy and Russell in 1997 stated hGH replacement in hGH deficient adults leads to increased strength, mass, circulatory volume, oxygen carrying capacity, red cell mass, and cardiac performance. So the physiological effects of hGH: Yeroshinsky, Campbell, Smith, Rennie, Halazzi, and Beer in 1992 looked at muscle anabolism associated with heavy resistance training in healthy men. Two groups underwent 12 weeks of training and treatment. The two groups were hGH treatment and a placebo group. Results displayed that fat-free mass and total body water increased in both groups. However, a larger effect was seen in the treatment group. Whole body protein synthesis rate increased more in the treatment group than placebo. Similar increments on muscle size, strength, and protein synthesis between treatment and placebo groups were seen. The increase in fat mass was determined to be the cause of an increase in lean tissue mass rather than skeletal muscle. So Yeroshinsky, Zekweja, Campbell, and Beer in 1995 studied the effects of growth hormone and resistant exercise on muscle growth and strength in older men. The purpose of the study was to determine whether hGH administration enhances muscle protein anabolism during resistance exercise training in older men. A placebo and a hGH treatment group were put through a 16-week progressive resistance exercise program. Results show fat-free mass and total body water increased more in the hGH treatment group than the control. However, vastus lateralis muscle protein synthesis rate, urinary creatinine excretion, and training, both specific isotonic and isokinetic muscle strength, were similar in both groups. This suggests that the resistance exercise training improves muscle strength and anabolism in older men, but the administration of hGH does not enhance these effects. Dasig, Frisch, Blum, and Waldor in 1993. The purpose was to observe the effects of recombinant hGH on strength, body composition, and endocrine parameters in power athletes. 23 non-obese males were split into either a placebo group or a hGH treatment group. For 6 weeks, the subjects were put through a training regimen working on the maximal strength of their biceps and quadriceps muscles. In the hGH treated group, both IGF-1 and IGF binding protein increased significantly. Insulin concentrations had a insignificant increase, while thyroxine levels increased significantly in the hGH treated group. No effect was seen on maximal strength contractions in the biceps or quadriceps in the treatment group. Angelopoulos, Beer, Yeroshinsky, and Zekweja, 1985, designed a study to determine whether recombinant growth hormone administration enhances muscle protein anabolism in experienced weightlifters. Two variables were measured in the study. The first was the fractional rate of skeletal muscle protein synthesis, and the second was the whole body rate of protein breakdown. The weightlifters were given a 12-week muscle building program throughout the duration of the hGH treatment. The results displayed an increased fasting serum IGF-1 concentration, but did not increase the fractional rate of muscle protein synthesis or reduce the rate of whole body protein breakdown. Some other literature: a professional paper by Weber in 2002 supported the notion that supplemental hGH increases mass but has no effect on muscular strength in healthy individuals. Awad and Eldib in 2007 demonstrated that modest doses of hGH in adults who are hGH deficient have been shown to increase lean body mass, skeletal muscle mass, proximal muscle force, and fat reduction. Human growth hormone as an ergogenic aid. The early ergogenic uses of hGH, they used the recombinant human growth hormone and it began back in the early 1980s in an attempt to enhance performance. As the testing got more efficient for anabolic steroids, athletes were looking for an alternative drug for which there was no drug testing. The choice became human growth hormone due to its efficiency, without major side effects, and the difficulties it caused with sporting association testing. Many athletes used the drugs in combination in an attempt to maximize the effects of the drugs as well as stay protected from testing procedures. This is referred to as stacking. Recombinant hGH was first discovered in sports in the hands of Chinese swimmers bound for the 1998 World Swimming Championships. Customs caught them trying to smuggle hGH into the country. That same year, issues arose at the Tour de France, which ultimately suggested that growth hormone use as an ergogenic aid had made its way onto the elite sporting stages. One of the factors complicating the testing for hGH is the pulsatile-like rhythm the hormone is secreted in. Human growth hormone also has a very short half-life of roughly 20 minutes, which makes it difficult to assess the levels of hGH in the body at any given time. Detection methods have switched from the direct measure of hGH circulating the body to the indirect measure of hGH by measuring the plasma concentration of insulin-like growth factor 1. The most recent testing for hGH abusers, which was used in the 2012 Olympic Games, uses the biomarker method. The method measures two well-distinguished biomarkers of recombinant hGH users. The first, insulin-like growth factor 1, and the second is the N-terminal propeptide of type 3 procollagen. So a case study of Alex Rodriguez. He's a professional baseball player, had been accused many times over and denied many times over of using performance-enhancing drugs like hGH. In 2009, he finally admitted to the use of hGH or performance-enhancing drugs. Rodriguez admitted to having used many types of these drugs, including growth hormone. When he finally admitted to cheating, he provided some insight as to why he felt the need to use these ergogenic aids. In 2001, Rodriguez signed the largest contract of any player in the history of the MLB with the Texas Rangers. He attributed this high pressure of signing this contract to the use of the ergogenic aids in an attempt to produce at a higher rate and earn his contract in the eye of the public. So keys to athletic hGH use. The doses are key to understanding the effects seen in athletic performance as well as in studies done on growth-retarded children and hGH-deficient older adults. Doses used by athletes can be up to 20 times the amount prescribed by doctors in medical cases. A second key in understanding the effects of hGH as an ergogenic aid is the term stacking. Stacking is referred to as taking multiple ergogenic aids in combination to maximize the effect of each drug on their performance. Stacking of drugs makes it difficult to understand the effects each drug is putting on the body. So another case study of Lance Armstrong. He's a professional cyclist who admitted to using an array of ergogenic aids. Some of these were testosterone, corticosteroids, hGH, erythropoietin, blood transfusions. In 2008, I believe, Lance Armstrong admitted to using these drugs, and he was stripped of his 7 straight Tour de France titles he had won from 1999 to 2005. The major ergogenic effect athletes view hGH use provides them with is a gain in muscular strength. Some claims have been made to suggest that hGH use may in fact provoke this physiological change in the body. However, no scientifically controlled studies have produced evidence showing this to be true. Some other perceived benefits include performance enhancement and faster recovery times from injury. In 2013, Baumgarten et al. showed that hGH administration to injured rats did not increase the recovery time. Sorry, did not decrease the recovery time of the injured rats. hGH effects on female athletes. A study done by Pori, Bassett, Rosen, Jorgensen, Napoli, Saka, Christensen, Bankston, and Sunken in 2007 looked at the effects of hGH administration in physically fit male and female athletes. The subjects were randomly assigned to one of 3 different groups: a low-dose hGH, a high-dose hGH, and a control group. The study produced results showing a significant raise in IGF-1 in the high-dose treatment group only for both males. IGF-1 in the high-dose treatment group only for both males and females. Human growth hormone administration also demonstrated weaker effects in females when compared to the male blood markers. This suggests that hGH use in female athletes is less effective than in male athletes. So another case study of Marion Jones. She was an American track star. In the 2000 Olympic Games, Jones sprinted her way to 3 gold medals, and she was labeled as an American hero for her accomplishments. After some time of speculation, Jones finally admitted to her use of illegal drugs in her sport. She spent 6 months in prison for lying to a federal court about her drug use. Jones retired from the sport of sprinting, and due to her use of drugs, she was stripped of all her Olympic medals and results dating back to the year 2000. So the placebo effect of hGH use. The placebo effect is the expectation a substance will help you when in fact it doesn't provide any physical benefit at all. Alex Rodriguez took hGH because he thought it would increase his performance to a level where he could earn his large contract. In certain sports such as weightlifting and swimming, athletes take hGH because their competitors are, and if they don't take it as well, they feel they're at a disadvantage. So even though studies show that it doesn't help you in terms of performance, these athletes still take it anyways because even though it doesn't help them, they still feel that if they don't take it, they are at a disadvantage. Side effects and risks of hGH use. Of the major risks associated with hGH use, acromegaly is commonly seen in hGH abuse. Acromegaly results from the excess production of hGH by the pituitary gland after the epiphyseal plate has closed. Cardiomyopathy is a decreased ability of the heart's myocardium to contract, which usually leads to heart failure. A third one is osteoporosis, which is a decrease in bone mass and density that leads to an increased risk of bone fractures. The same health risks apply to female athletes. However, there are a few more risks due to the differences in the male and female bodies. Abuse of hGH by females can lead to oligomenorrhea, which is menstrual irregularities, or secondary amenorrhea, which is the absence of menstruation in a previously normal functioning uterus. Along with menstrual instability, female athletes can experience impotence during periods of hGH abuse. So the conclusion, despite the fact that very few studies have been done to look at the effects of hGH supplementation in athletes, results from these studies agree that there is no ergogenic aid effect at the small doses they give in the studies. In a healthy individual, such as most athletes, the general body composition changes that occur are a decrease in fat mass and an increase in fat-free mass. The increased fat-free mass can mostly be attributed to the increased bone density of the individual. Athletes commonly take more than one drug at a time, such as an hGH and steroid combination. This concoction of drugs makes it difficult to determine which drug is causing which effect. Athletes continue to abuse hGH despite having unproven effects at the high dose levels taken by athletes.